Good evening and welcome to the City Council meeting for Monday, November 17, 2025. We will begin with a roll call and determination of quorum.
Lehman. Here. Maher. Here. Roberts. Here. Stroman. Here. Pettigrew.
Here.
Sechrist. Bieberdorf.
Here.
Tamang.
Here.
Evans.
Here.
Meyer. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next, we'll have an invocation by Pastor Rob Bray, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you're able and willing, would you please rise?
Thank you, Mayor and City Council members, for the opportunity to pray this evening. Father in heaven, we come before you tonight with gratitude for the gift of leadership. Your word tells us no authority has been established except by God. So we trust these are ministers for our good. So we honor the weight of this moment again. We ask for your wisdom, not just good ideas. We ask for God ideas, and we ask that you bestow that wisdom as you say you will, according to James 1:5. We ask boldly that there be no confusion in the room, that there be no fear, but instead courage and conviction. We speak blessing over our city, Rapid City, our families, our neighborhoods, our economy, our schools, our future. I pray that we could discern the times, as it says in 1 Chronicles 12. And so strengthen these leaders in the conversation tonight. And we pray, Lord, that in all we do, we could honor you, seek justice and mercy according to Micah, and that we could protect what is good for the families and citizens of Rapid City. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda. Got a motion by Bieberdorf, second by someone down, hang on here, Tamang. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The agenda is adopted. Next, we will have a presentation on the library from the library director, Terry Davis. Terry, come on down.
Good evening, council members, mayor. Thank you for your time tonight. I know you have a lot on your agenda. You were all recipients of a letter from the Pennington County Commission's administrative offices a few weeks ago informing you of their decision to terminate the contract due to the fact that they are not funding the library at the contracted amount for 2026. So that resulted in some impacts, and I just want to give you a perspective and overview of that. So the way this all came about, prior to 1999, if someone lived in Pennington County and wanted to use the Rapid City Library, they had to pay a user fee to do that because Pennington County did not fund the library. There was a grassroots effort. Community members decided they wanted to be taxed in their property taxes for the ability to have library services. And so that went to the ballot, and it was a good number in favor of it. I've seen numbers varying from 79% to 94%, so that's unsure, but it was overwhelmingly in favor of having that service. For some reason, it was on the ballot again in 2000, the same question, and at that point it was 85% of the county voters in favor of having the county provide library services. And when I say county voters, those are people residing in Pennington County, but not in Rapid City, Wall, Keystone, Hill City, Box Elder, or New Underwood. So the truly rural residents of Pennington County. So the results of that vote were overwhelming, but the election results did not specify how those library services would be provided. The county commission could have stood up a separate county library, as they had originally done in Minnehaha County, but instead they decided to contract with existing public libraries. So the 4 communities they contracted with are Hill City, Keystone, Rapid City, and Wall. And those contracts ran from 1999 to 2015. Most of them were year-to-year contracts, which was in itself a bit problematic. I think there were a couple of 2-year contracts. But in 2015, the contracts were revised, and they were revised to be ongoing until terminated. And the way those contracts were outlined was to establish a funding base for each library. And Rapid City's base was determined to be $400,000. I can't tell you how that was determined because I wasn't here and I wasn't involved in those conversations. But that $400,000 was in itself a $37,000 decrease from the previous year's funding. The contracts did also include a stipulation to do an annual increase of the CPI or 3%, whichever was less. I suppose it could also have gone into the negative if it was really a down year. So what that looked like, I'm going to try to use this pointer that Jim told me about. There we go. We've got the total library budgets for those years, the county appropriation to the library in those years, and then what percentage of the library budget was provided by the county. So anywhere between 10 to 12%, right around 11% generally. That's fine, but the county residents use the library significantly more than that. So in 2025 so far, county residents account for 22% of our library's use. So you see there's quite a discrepancy between the level of county funding and the use by the county library patrons. You see the county library levy identified here, and also per $300,000 property, what the tax assessment would be. So 2025, $36.60. That'll get you a hardcover book and maybe a cup of coffee. And for that cost, you have access to all of the resources that the library provides. I would say that's pretty good value for money. You will note, though, with the anticipated funding from the county for 2026 of $81,000, their percentage of funding to the Rapid City Library's budget does drop to 2%. And again, their usership is in the 20 percentile. So the way this came about this year, in late June, the 4 libraries in the county were asked to present our budgets to the county commission. 3 of us attended. And Hill City and Wall, for example, they presented their budgets first. And the commissioners asked them what they would do with more money in their budget. And I thought, well, that's an interesting question. That's not a question I've heard asked at budget hearings before. And when I presented the Rapid City Library's budget and our goals for 2026, one of the commissioners stated that Rapid City gets too much of the library levy. And that despite the fact that I'd pointed out that, in fact, most of the usership by the county residents was with Rapid City. September 19th, I don't know if that was the first or second reading of the budget, but that's when the county commission cut our library's appropriation to $81,000, a reduction of almost $408,000 from what would have been contracted. And then on October 21st, there was a formal notification that the county's 2026 appropriation for the Rapid City Library would in fact be that $81,000. And the county commission's office director asked for contracts with all 4 libraries. I'm not sure why they terminated the other libraries' contracts, because they funded them appropriately. But they wanted to get that done before December of this year. I am hopeful that we can have progressive negotiations and get a contract in place for 2026 that the library board could approve at their December meeting, but we'll see what happens. And then October 22nd was the formal notification that you all received, as well as I did, that the county commission is terminating the current contract as of January 1st. Now, I don't think a one-size-fits-all contract, as we've had in the past, would work for library services for these reasons. You see the 2025 appropriations to the county there, and the total of $537 and change, $537,000 and change. Rapid City does get the lion's share of that, but again, we've got most of the users. The appropriation for 2026 per contract would have been about $488,000 for Rapid City, but this was what the county commission adopted, $81,000. It is an overall reduction of $408,005, but that is all coming from one library. Now, in the next columns, you'll see the registered borrowers from the county. And I can pull this data because we all share a database. We're all part of the same consortium. So these are active library users. These are people who are actively using the different libraries. And you see the numbers there. And then the percentage of the county's borrowers that each library has. So almost 93% of the county's borrowers are using the Rapid City Library. And then finally, we have the county appropriation percentage. And this is where it doesn't make sense to me. Nothing against the Hill City Library, because that is a wonderful library. But I'm not sure how they have 3% of the users, but they're getting almost a quarter of the county's budget. And that doesn't compute in my mind. And then the cost per borrower as provided by the county is also listed there. And truly, by funding the other libraries at their full amount and by providing some funding to Rapid City Library, I suppose the commissioners are holding to the letter of the mandate that they received, but I don't think they're holding to the spirit of the mandate, given the percentage of library users at Rapid City. Now, a cut of $400,000, about 10% of our budget, is not without impacts. So the first thing that's happening is we are losing 3 frontline librarians. These are the people who work at the desks and greet the people and answer their questions every day, answer the telephones, answer questions by chat, etc. Because of that, we're proposing that the library will close on Sundays, statistically our lowest use day. And that will allow those staffing numbers to be spread over 6 days a week. We propose charging county resident and active military user fees again, beginning January 1st. And nobody wants this. This is what started this whole thing back in 1998, but this is where we are. We can't provide the services without the funding to do that. Significant cut to purchasing new books. Almost a third of our book budget will be cut. Ebook purchasing cut. We're eliminating Wi-Fi hotspot checkouts. I received an anonymous comment card dated the 15th that was from a retired person who said he and his family rely on the Wi-Fi hotspots because they don't have internet at home. We are eliminating some print magazine titles, some newspaper subscriptions, the Dial-A-Story service where little kids can call in and hear a story read to them. A number of databases being cut, Auto Repair, Job Now. Job Now is a nice database. It has live tutors to do practice interviews with people and give them feedback on their resumes. So that's a tough one. But these are expensive resources, and when you have to make tough choices, these are the kinds of choices we have to make. Events and programs, the kids' STEAM and STEM activities, adult STEAM and STEM activities, and then again, the newspapers that I mentioned. These are some of the impacts. There will be others. We're looking at charging fees where we haven't charged fees before, for example, for notary services, and for interlibrary loan services. But we'll see, again, if we can have progressive conversations with Pennington County and the situation changes, then some of these cuts may be mitigated. And that's all I have at this moment. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions that I can address now, I'd be happy to. Otherwise, I'll be happy to follow up with an email to you.
All right, we got some lights lighting up, Terry, so get ready.
Okay.
First, Councilor Bieberdorf.
Terry, thanks for your presentation. It's great. Just, can you expound on what we did in 99 and how did that work? Did they pay just a one-time user fee per year? How'd that work before, do you know, or is like per thing they checked out? How did that work?
That was before my time. I believe it was an annual fee that was assessed when, at the time you wanted to get a library card. That's the way we do it now for the card holders who are outside of Pennington County. We do charge them an annual fee. They get registered, they have a card like everybody else does, but that card is set to expire in a year's time. The non-resident fee right now is $125.
All right, next up is Counselor Evans.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I want to go back to that, if you could review that chart we had with the assessment on a $300,000 home. In 2016, it was about, and I gather this is a line item in their taxes, $63.30, and then it's way down in 2025 to $36. How does that shrink so much? Have we really built that many homes in the last 10, 15 years? Maybe I'm not understanding anything, how that could drop so much.
I will defer to Director Ainsley if I can, because he explained this to me very well, but it's not something I could articulate again.
All right, so we will defer to Finance Director Daniel Ainsley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In situations like that, what ends up occurring whenever the assessed valuation increases faster than CPI, even if the CPI increases, for example, on the library mill levy rate, if the total valuation increases by 5%, there's going to be a reduction in the mill levy. And so that's essentially what has happened, that we have added additional properties in the county, and the valuations of the average property in the county has increased. And so the mill levy has gone down, even though the collections have not substantially changed.
We grew.
I have to say, I still don't quite understand how the math works, but I'll believe you. Thank you.
Next up, Counselor Meyer.
Thank you, Terry. You had mentioned that Sundays were statistically the slowest day. Is that based on materials checked out or foot traffic?
Both.
Both. Thank you. Yeah, I was just wondering if it's, I know a lot of people will come and we have things you can do that aren't necessarily checking materials out. You know how passionate I am about libraries and how I think this is a devastating situation, especially on a weekend, and things are so expensive right now, and if a family can go and do something free, or if it's $36 to me, I'd pay that all day long for the quality of our library. It's incredible. I almost get emotional going through the cuts you were showing us. So thank you very much for the presentation.
Next up, Counselor Roberts. Oh, sorry about that, John.
Problem.
There you go, sir.
Thank you. Does anybody know, whether it's you or the finance officer, what the mill levy generates a year?
It was in the range of $500 and some $1,000 because if I can go to one of my other slides, you see in 2025 the appropriation was $537,000. For 2026, it was anticipated to be $553,000. They do have a bit of a reserve left over in that fund, even at that amount.
So does anybody know what the county is using this money for? Because if this is a mill levy for libraries, that's where it's supposed to go to by law. And if this is going into their general fund, that is an issue.
I believe it is not going into their general fund. What they have said is that they are reducing the library levy. But, and I believe
okay.
that's also been presented as a means of helping
Property
people save property
tax
taxes.
reduction.
But if you look at this, I mean,
Okay.
right now, it's $36.60. So whatever level of savings is going to be negligible.
Yeah, but I've heard that for the last 15 years on this council, that $15 won't make very much, or $20 won't make very much. But over the last 15 years, that $15, $20 has ended up being $1,000 a year. So, you know, over time, every little bit does help, and I get that. I just thought maybe they were pulling something fast on constituents, because I've had a lot of calls over this, and unfortunately, this is a county issue. This isn't a city issue. This is a county issue. I hope that you can get it resolved, but I think that our funding is appropriate for you. So, thank you.
If I may, yes, you're absolutely right. It is not a city issue, and I do believe the city's funding for the library is very appropriate, and I appreciate it. That said, the impacts of this are going to impact everyone, city and county residents alike. We can't cut up a $14,000 database and say city users can use this piece and county users can't. We just can't do that. We've got to make these cuts, and it's going to affect everyone.
Next up, we have Councilor Pettigrew.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A quick story. Years ago, Sam Quaker asked if I'd serve on the library board, and I said, well, I don't even have a library card. And he said, well, I don't think that's required. And I served on the library board, I don't know, Terry, you would know, 8 or 10 years. I was president for several years. I never had a library card, and I could never check out a book when I was on the board. But I came to know the value of that library. You go down there, there's all levels of income, all sorts of nationalities, and it's important to Rapid City. And I've always said, if you have a good library, you have a stronger community, a smarter community, and a community that embraces each other and gets along. For those of us who've had the privilege of traveling the world, which I have, I go to every library in every city I go to. And you go into those cities, it could be small or large, go to Paris, go to London. All these places that got amazing libraries, New York, Boston, go into them. You'll see how vibrant those communities are because they have an active library. I was told by one of the commissioners the reason they're cutting $400,000, they've overspent. So why are they picking on the library? I think there's other places that the commissioners should be looking at to cut budgets, but for heaven's sakes, don't cut the library because that is the lifeblood of a community. Thank you.
If I may again?
Yes, ma'am.
I think your points are well made. Public libraries are the equalizing resource in the community. Anyone can come to the library, even if they don't have a library card. We have many people every day who come in and use the resources in the library that don't have a card. That's perfectly fine. There are other people who have cards that never step foot in the library because they get the e-books or they pick things up through the drive-through window. But it is the equalizer. Everybody has a chance to use the resources that we provide, to get the educational information that we provide, the informational and fun activities that are there. It's available for everyone, so they are the great equalizers. And the thing that hits me about having to charge fees again is that there is going to be an enforced inequity, and that's not the way it should be. That's not what Benjamin Franklin visualized. That's not what Andrew Carnegie visualized. It goes against my grain. But again, we've got to do something to be able to provide the resources which are in fact costly.
All right, we got Councilor Tomei in the queue.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just want to echo what Councilor Pettigrew and Councilwoman Myers said. They said it perfectly, and I think the way the county rolled this out was ill-conceived and frankly irresponsible, and I appreciate everything you're doing to keep things going the way they are. Thank you.
Thank you.
A couple of comments from me, Terry, real quick. I think both sides, we probably could have done better on this. I think my hope with the county is we continue to come to the table to work on a negotiation and working in good faith, making sure they have all this data at hand. And unfortunately, they're not here to represent themselves. So I do want to be fair to them. And, we have a good partnership with the county and the city. I want to continue that in all aspects. We enjoy that very much. And so I do think that's important. At the same time, we need to make sure that the council is educated about what these cuts mean. They need to know because they have constituents, as do I, about the services that are provided. And we appreciate you sharing the information. Appreciate you continuing to sit down and work with the county and come to a positive resolution. I'm hopeful that both sides want to see that. So that's my encouragement to all of us. They have hard decisions to make too, and maybe with this information they might come to a different conclusion. So I hope that we would continue to provide this information to them and get off on the right track. So thank you tonight for spending time with us and giving us this presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will enter general public comment. This is a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. Do have several speaker request forms, and we will begin with Joel Brannon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not here to ask for anything tonight. I'm here just to thank you and the council for your service. I appreciate the fact that all of you come to these meetings with an open mind. We don't always agree, but that's what our society is built on. I think I think you guys do an incredible job. I don't think you get the appreciation that you deserve. I think people here often take their desire, their goal personally, and really don't give you guys the benefit of the doubt. I saw it firsthand. I had people sitting on this council that didn't agree with my presentation, but was open-minded, was willing to sit down and listen, and a few of you changed your mind. A few of you didn't, but I still have the utmost respect for you. I just want to say thank you for your service. Thank you for what you do. You deserve to be treated better. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Hayden Fuchs.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members. I wanted to echo what Joel said here. Just wanted to say thank you for your dedication in making Rapid City a vibrant and thriving community. Your leadership and commitment to progress are the foundation of everything that we do. I'm here today to represent Team Rapid City, and as all of you know, there's a citywide vote for the Destination District in January, on January 20th. But like all of you, you did your research and ended up voting in favor of the project. I truly believe the citizens of Rapid will do the same and come to the best conclusion possible, which is voting yes for Team Rapid City. But I don't want to digress too much. I just really wanted to say thank you for the countless hours that all of you put into this, for the unfair beratings that you sometimes get, and just listening to all of your community members and valuing everyone's opinion. That's not an easy job and sometimes thankless. So thank you for all you do. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Next up, D'Amico Rodriguez.
I don't know if you guys get this much praise on a regular basis, but
We're uncomfortable up here. We're not used to that.
But again, going to echo the same sentiments. But I want to thank the city staff as well. Again, I know you're giving up a lot of Mondays and all the other times that you have to be here away from your families. Also, thank you, Mayor Solomon and council, for your continued support of the commission and the proposed indoor sports complex. I'm here to speak to the Rapid City residents. There's a very significant vote on January 20th, but you don't need to wait until the 20th to cast your vote. Early voting opens on January 5th. Please consider voting early, and please consider voting for the Destination District, AKA Liberty Land. Liberty Land is not an amusement park. For those that have been to Disney, think of downtown Disney as a view. There are restaurants, shopping, and entertainment that are free for visitors and Rapid City residents. Liberty Land would be a great addition to Rapid City's entertainment offerings, but it will also be a huge asset for the indoor sports complex. There is vital infrastructure associated with the Destination District TIF that will help the sports complex. The completion of Tisch Boulevard is part of the TIF, and it will be a major artery to get in and out of the sports complex. Recently, we have learned of additional site work expenses for the complex, and if this TIF passes, we will be able to leverage site and dirt work cost sharing with Liberty Land to ensure the cost of the complex does not balloon. Lastly, we recently did a community survey about the complex, and one of the most discussed issues was ensuring that there was enough parking at the complex. With Liberty Land located directly across the street, we can invest more in the facility itself and leverage shared parking costs with Liberty Land. We are asking the Rapid City residents to make an informed decision on January 20th. There is a lot of misinformation about the two projects, Sports Complex and Liberty Land, and we would gladly answer any questions that anyone has. We have put together a website, teamrapidcity.com, to answer questions. Rapid City is at an inflection point, and the rest of the state is keeping an eye on this topic. TIFs are the only tool that cities have to assist developers. Let's not take this tool away. Please support the Destination District TIF on January 20th, and let's support strategic growth.
Thank you. That will conclude our general public comment, and we will move on to non-public hearing items 2 through 34 and open public comment on items 2 through 25. I do not have any speaker request forms for those items, so we will close the public comment and move to consent items 2 through 25. Would the council like to remove any item for separate consideration or vote on the remaining items? Okay, we got a motion by Bieberdorf with a second by Lehman to approve items 22 through 25. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to non-consent items 26 through 34, and we will open public comment for items 26 through 34. I have one speaker request form. That is from Chris Huber for item 34. Chris, you have 3 minutes. We'll have the timer above me here, as you know.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Chris Huber. I'm the president and CEO of the Black Hills Area Community Foundation. I just want to give you a little bit fuller picture on the Black Hills Food Response Fund, why it was set up, what we've done in fundraising, and then how we've used the grants thus far, and how we plan to use those grants moving forward. So we set up the Black Hills Food Response Fund with $50,000. It came from a pooled fund that had dollars from the Black Hills Area Community Foundation, the John T. Vukurovich Foundation, and the Bush Foundation in it. And we set it up as a dollar-for-dollar match. We really heard from our nonprofit partners that they were seeing an increased need in the food space. This was caused by the federal government shutdown stretching on, and then uncertainty around SNAP food payments. And so we use that $50,000 as a dollar-for-dollar match, asking our community to help support this increased need. I'm pleased to say that we've raised $46,130 so far to date, and we've already given out $68,000 to nonprofits in the Black Hills area that are utilizing food services. And so half of those dollars went to Feeding South Dakota, as we talked about, and then the other half went to 9 other nonprofit organizations across the Black Hills area. Thankfully, I think everybody can agree that the federal government is now open and SNAP payments have started to flow again. The first partial payment came on last week. The second partial payment is supposed to be here later this week. So we're going to use the remainder of those dollars to refill food pantries. The holiday season, Thanksgiving, Christmas, are the most important time of year for food pantries. That's when they see the most need. And so any other dollars we raise, plus the matching dollars that we've put in already, are going to be used to go to just restocking those shelves, making sure that people can access food as they go into the holiday season. And I'll hang out for comments if you have additional questions.
All right, thank you, Chris. Next up for item 33, we have Deborah Jensen.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Jensen, and I'm speaking tonight as a citizen and former business owner for Mount Rushmore, on Mount Rushmore Road, I should say. Wilson Elementary School, Wilson Park, West Boulevard, and the surrounding neighborhoods, of course, we all know are very vital to our community. The recent police statistics, perhaps you have seen them, regarding safety within a very small radius of the Mount Rushmore Road loaf and jug is quite alarming, and it does not include incidents that have been addressed by the Mount Rushmore Road Group's security measures in the past. And this is certainly not a new issue. In fact, for many years, the loaf and jug has been associated with frequent calls for service, including intoxicated individuals, fights, crime. You may have been here in 2017 when there was a horrible murder on the loaf and jug premises. I was working just a few blocks down the street. These statistics, of course, highlight a very critical need to improve the safety, not only for the park, the school, the community, Mount Rushmore Road, our traveling public, everyone, the nearby residents. And so while I definitely support commerce, and I certainly do not want to tell a business how to run their own business. I do think that the Loaf and Jug needs to reevaluate its policies and procedures, and that's why I'm here to publicly urge them to become more proactive, to ensure that products that they sell are not already being sold to people who are intoxicated, and to look at their operating procedures and their policies, because the Loaf and Jug's policies and procedures right now appear to be causing, or at least contributing, to a very major problem and having a negative impact on our community. Thank you.
Thank you. That will conclude the public comment period, and we will move on to item 26. The second reading of ordinance number 6697, an ordinance prohibiting pedestrian safety and the orderly flow of traffic by prohibiting pedestrians from occupying certain medians by adding section 12.12.140 to the Rapid City Municipal Code. Okay, so we got a motion by Roberts with a second by Lehman. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 27 is a first reading of ordinance number 6696, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. A request by TUI Design Group for Valley Development, LLC, for a rezoning request from General Agricultural District to Low Density Residential District 1 for property generally described as being located at 5800 Twilight Drive.
Move to approve.
And we got a motion by Pettigrew with a second by Roberts. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 28. Deny the request by Dean Kelly Construction, Inc. for a variance to waive the requirement to install sidewalk along Bellevue Drive as required per 12.08.060 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. And the committee recommendation was to approve the denial with a 3-to-1 vote. And Councilor Roberts, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. So I voted against this just to move it to council so there would be some discussion on it, because I was hoping that somebody like Mr. Kelly would be here so I could ask him some questions, but I guess I don't see anybody here. So I guess I will vote to deny this. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, well, we have the motion by Lehman with a second by Roberts to deny. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 29, deny request by Ritter and Associates on behalf of Black Hills Outdoors for a variance to waive the requirement to install sidewalk along First Street as required per 12.08.060 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. This was sent to the council without recommendation. And Councilor Pettigrew, the floor is yours, sir.
If I may ask Vicki Fisher a question on this topic, please. You know, I'm very pro sidewalk. I drove down that street, and I'm unclear, Vicki, as to where the sidewalk would go. On one side of First Street is Black Hills Sports or some boat, and on the other side is a car lot. Is that where the sidewalk would go, on the car lot side? And if so, there is a sidewalk there, but it just goes up to a railroad station. I don't know who else would be walking up to that station except someone who works for the railroad. So can you clarify that for me, please?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, we have Community Development Director Vicki Fisher.
So that property at one time did have construction on it. They removed the building and they removed the sidewalk that was there. the issue is that there was a time when that right-of-way was very expansive. So the sidewalk was pretty close to the building. We vacated some of that right-of-way. For them to come back, they would have to build the sidewalk in the right-of-way. And so aligning it with the existing sidewalk becomes somewhat problematic. And you are right. One of the things we talked about at committee was the fact that there's nothing on the other side of the railroad. And so if it's of the decision that we would defer this improvement until we get that full connection, there should be some acknowledgement that this property owner would still be responsible for the construction, but just defer the expense until the city would come forward with potentially a CIP project. Because remember, a sidewalk on an existing lot isn't triggered if it's already developed unless they secure a building permit for a percentage of 20% or more expansion on the property, or if they're getting, if it's a vacant lot and they're building a new structure. So in this case, they are required, as a part of that building permit, to redevelop this lot to provide that sidewalk. It's just a matter of, do we have it construct now, and it is going to not connect to the south, or do we defer this until such time as the city would come in, do a full project that would reduce the overall cost, but yet put that portion linear to this property back on the property owner. It's something we discussed at committee.
Thank you.
Next up, Councilor Maher. Councilor Roberts, I bumped you out of the queue. I apologize. All right. Councilor Maher.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Director Fisher. There should be a deferral here. I drove by that property, and there's no curb or gutter. So you're going to make them put a sidewalk in, and then it'll just be a slope to the street. It's, and I can't imagine why anybody would be walking along that sidewalk. Well, there's no sidewalk, but there's just a bunch of boats stored in a big lot. So I just think it's kind of an unfair request of the developer or the builder to put a sidewalk. It's one of these other sidewalks to nowhere, but the fact that there's no curb or gutter really got to me when I went and looked at it.
Okay. Next up, Councilor Roberts.
Thank you. I'm going to try to stumble through a motion here real quick, and then when I'm done,
All right.
I want to hold the floor.
All right.
If I can get a second, which I believe I can. So I'm going to make the request to approve the request by Renner and Associates on behalf of Black Hills Outdoors for a variance to waive the requirement to install sidewalk along First Street, and add a note. Vicki, how would I add a note to the file that when a city project comes in, this property, because the property owners may change, this property will be responsible for the cost of the sidewalk. Is there a better way for me to do that?
We'll let Director Fisher give a good round. I thought I actually understood that, John, but
Yeah.
Here's
but
my
Well, it's
she
suggestion.
might have a
we've been
better way
trying-
of
We've
saying
been
it.
trying to do for years, because this is going to make people responsible for sidewalks in the future.
Okay.
So,
My
Director Fisher.
suggestion would be to waive the requirement to install sidewalk as a part of this building permit, and to defer the expense to the property owner until such time as the city comes forward with a street improvement / sidewalk improvement in this area.
do you got that, Heidi? Okay, that's my motion.
All right, we got the motion by Roberts and a second by Stroman to approve adding the note to defer the expense to the owner to improve the sidewalk should that be developed in that area. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 30. Confirm the reappointment of Timmy Bubak to the, is that a consent item? Oh, pardon me. Confirm the appointment of Timmy Bubak to the Library Board of Trustees. Motion by Roberts, second by Lehman to approve. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Stand by. I'm just making sure that I'm not on the wrong page here. Well, these are all non-consent, all right? That's just unusual. But, yeah, item 31, approve resolution number 2025-130, A resolution amending certain fees to be charged in 2025 for various licenses, permits, and applications. And I believe Daniel Ainsley, our finance director, would like to speak on this topic.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I just want to note for the council that when the Legal and Finance approved or recommended approval of the resolution, there was a conflict in the marijuana-related license fees because of action that the committee took to table the ordinance revision for the marijuana that occurred. I think it was the item directly before this. And so we did not change the resolution that's included in your packet. However, we prepared an alternate resolution. So I, as well as the city attorney's office, would recommend that you would actually adopt the amended final fee resolution, which is in your packet, which just includes all the same fee resolutions with the exception of the marijuana that keeps it at the current fee structure. The staff does believe those fees should be changed, but in order to be fair to the community and to the public, we believe it'd be best for that to come forward in a separate action, perhaps next month.
Thank you. Councilor Roberts.
All right. That was one of my two issues. The other one is, give me 1 second to pull this back up. I know that this is just standard procedure. Probably every city does it. But charging for the credit card services, because I've had quite a few calls, 3% fee to, anyway, my question is, what happens to the city? Because we have a lot of stubborn people in Rapid City, including myself. So I'm going to start mailing mine to you, just because I pay enough. So what if another 2,000 or 4,000 users decide they're going to mail it to you too? What's that going to cause for the finance department?
Well, let's give the finance director an opportunity to answer that question. Director Ainsley?
Well, I'm happy to say that we have saved more than 2,000 checks from physically being processed through some of the changes that we've made. So for the past 4 months, we have reduced that. So we are saving some labor time in comparison, and also we will be launching very shortly, within the next couple of weeks, a new online portal that will make it easier for customers. We're not officially announcing it yet, but we will very soon. That will make it a lot easier for customers to be able to pay their water bills, especially if their water bill is turned off, but also do e-billing and do automatic enrollment and everything else. So with the convenience of it, we do believe, after talking with a lot of other communities, that the participation rate will increase. So we'll receive fewer checks. I'm sure some individuals will stop doing that, and they'll probably start mailing checks. But I think overall, the total number of checks will go down. If in 6 months that's not the case, I'll come back to you, and I guess I'll eat crow and say maybe we have to readjust it. But I think at this point, there are ways that if people do not want to pay for those service fees, they can have a lower rate for ACH, or they can do the direct pay out of their bank account where there will not be a charge, or they can also write a check. So there are ways that they can do it for free, but we're also trying to make it easier for people so that they can pay their bills and reduce also our labor costs.
And I think that we need to get that out to the public so the people know. Yeah, I'd be happy to let you draft it right out of my bank account. The only problem with the old system was every time you got it set up, you had to start all over again.
Yes,
it was a
it was
total
horrible.
pain in the butt.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that the new one works out good, and you would think the millions of dollars we spend in software, we could get something that's kind of in the 20th century.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
anyway, thank you.
It's a good point, and just for a point of clarification, it's a project been working on for quite some time to have these automatic payments available. So obviously, we've been working on it, testing it to make sure that it's accurate. And yes, it's a long time coming. Appreciate it, Director Ainsley and his team for the work on that. Anyhow, the item at hand is to approve this item. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Motion by Bieberdorf for the second by Pettigrew. Oh, I think we were looking for an amendment. Is that correct?
Yep.
So I believe that what the finance director is looking for is a motion to approve, but leaving the cannabis fees as they were before, and they could be dealt with at a separate time. Motion by Bieberdorf with a second by Pettigrew. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, you're on it. You're on the record. The motion is approved. Item 32, a request by TUI Design Group for Valley Development LLC for preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots 1 of Twilight Estates subdivision, generally described as being located north of the interstate on Helios Street, correct me if I'm wrong, and Twilight Drive. The recommendation is to approve with stipulations. Nobody? All right. We got a motion by Evans. Do we have a second? Second by Tamang. To approve with stipulations. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 33, approve, deny, or continue the attached 2026 alcohol beverage license renewals. This was sent to the council without recommendation. Okay, the motion on the floor is to approve by Roberts with a second by Lehman. So with that, we'll go to Councilor Tomei.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This one's interesting. There's been a lot of public discussion regarding some of these particular licenses and the public well-being. Ms. Jensen was here today to discuss this point, so I'd like to make a substitute motion. I'd like to approve all the license renewals in item 33 except Loaf and Jug on Mount Rushmore Road and set that for public hearing on December 15th. And if I can get a second, I'd like to hold the floor. So
stand by just a second. Public hearing on which date?
December 15th, sir.
December 15th. Here's my challenge, is you did quite a bit of comment before your motion, so if we could have somebody else make that motion, you have a second, I'll give you the floor back. Okay, Bieberdorf makes that motion. Do you second that motion?
Yes.
All right, the floor is back to you.
Thank you, sir. The reason for this is nothing to do with anti-business. The reason for this is nothing to do with cherry picking licenses. It's to do with data. And the data suggests, as was shared by Ms. Jensen and our police department, and anecdotally throughout many groups that deal with street medicine, street enforcement, that this may be a particular pain point that, if modulated with a scalpel, could result in substantial downward improvements. And so when we see these kinds of things, it's very tricky to forecast. But if you look at the way cities and societies have sort of dealt with this before, sometimes very small changes can have really big impacts, and they're counterintuitive frequently. So I wouldn't argue that it's anti-business. I'd argue that it's actually pro-business, because you actually can better, the whole area from doing a small thing. And realistically, you can model this stuff, but often the only way to figure it out is to try it. And if it doesn't work, then you bring it forward. That's my comments. Thank you.
All right, next up, Councilor Roberts.
Thank you very much. Can I ask the Chief of Police a few questions?
Yes, you may. Chief, come back in there. You too, Councilor Meyer, my apologies. Thank you.
I think I'm in.
Don, so how many violations has this location had on their liquor license?
None.
Okay, that's exactly what I thought. One of the problems I have with this, which is many, but one of the problems that I have with this is, how can we prove that these alcohol problems are coming out of this loaf and jug and not the convenience store across the street, or not the liquor store a block and a half away? And if you say you're not targeting businesses, you're absolutely incorrect. You are definitely targeting a business. And once you start targeting businesses, whose business is next? Is it my business? Is it Rod's business? Whose business is it? We, in my opinion, on this council, we're here to serve the constituents, the taxpayers, and to follow the law. And the law says they have not had any violations where we can pull their license. So I have huge problems with this. Huge problems with this. Because this is just the beginning of the government taking over every part of our lives. So that's all I have to say. Well, for now. I always have a lot to say, and I'll have probably a lot more to say about this. But that's the beginning. Thank you.
All right. Next up, we're going to go to Councilor Meyer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm supportive of going to hearing. I think something I was surprised to learn today was that I had thought that we would have some sort of restrictions against how close you can sell alcohol to a school. We have ordinances where you cannot have on-sale alcohol within 500 feet to a school, but I was surprised to learn that you can sell alcohol that close to a school. So my reasoning is that I am supportive of exploring not being able to sell alcohol that close to a school, not necessarily a singular business, but just as a general rule. So I'm supportive of the hearing.
Councilor Tamang.
Thank you. Could I ask the police chief a question, please?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Chief Hedrick, I'm curious regarding the call of service volume in that location and any data related to that. And I'd like to hang on to the floor after, please.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
So we took a look at the data that we found, and we looking at it, we found a strong correlation between liquor sales, particularly close to that park, and an increased call for service ratio. And while we found that Loaf and Jug isn't necessarily violating any laws, as pointed out, we have found that selling hard alcohol at 7 a.m. next to a park and an elementary school is particularly a factor that has weighed into the calls for service that we're responding to. And not just the police department, but also our partners with the fire department here. And I think it's just this location that's very unique, and these factors of that location being very next to a park there that leads into the social factors that cause our response. And, we've run into this before. Prairie Bottle being close to a park was very similar, and we had met with them in the past. We asked if they would stop selling certain types of alcohol, and at one point they did, and we watched calls for service decline. And recently, some of the data that I showed you, when the liquor store in that location recently closed, our calls for service completely dropped. One of the last data points that I shared with you, immediately when that liquor store closed, our calls for service completely stopped in that park. So it is a factor, and we're doing everything that we can to mitigate it by being proactive in that area. I have Lieutenant Doyle, who's in charge of our proactive services, who is here and can speak to it. Calls for service where we have parents on their way to school calling us with folks passed out in the park. We've heard from one of the folks that does business in that area of town that has to address it, and it's a complicated issue, and we're doing the best we can to mitigate it. And I think we're just asking for some help and support to try to address it with some additional tools and trying something different, because what we're doing just isn't working, and we could use some help.
Thank you, Chief. He used the word complicated. I think that's right. I would probably use the word nuanced, and trying to find the right solution without the government taking all aspects of our life over is worth considering. Reasonable, precise regulation sounds like something that should be decided by a public hearing to me. Sounds like something the folks should get to talk about, because my understanding is the police department has done their due diligence with trying to talk to these particular location to try to find some common ground. And my understanding is those communications were not fruitful. Now, while they're committing no violation of law, that doesn't mean that the local government can't determine that there needs to be appropriate adjustments. And so I fully support the decision to go to a public hearing and let everybody weigh in on the 15th.
Councilor Bieberdorf.
Thank you. I appreciate all the comments. I know it's just amazing to me that we have such a hard time taking action on the alcohol issue from the last time we tried to bring it forward to move the time back. PD is coming to us time and again. Excellent data provided us by Chief. And the way we know if it works or not is beta test it. Why are we so afraid to beta test it? When I sat on the board before, the same issue came before us. And the glaring thing to me is when our PD goes there and says, would you take some low-hanging fruit off your shelves to help us better police this area? They didn't do it 3 years ago. They're not doing it now. So I believe it is city government's job to protect the kids, to protect the park, protect the quality of our life. It's the biggest thing I heard when I was running. And it's just amazing to me that we are so afraid when the PD comes to us to beta test something and the chief can provide us data 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. Look at the data. Make a data-driven decision and take emotions out of it. And I love the word that Dr. Tamang said is surgical. This, we missed it by 1 vote last time to try to move this forward. We have the ability now to surgically take one liquor store out of the equation that sits right next to where kids go to school and one of the most pristine parks in our town. So I absolutely think we should continue the discussion and move it towards the public hearing.
Okay, next up, we have Councilor Maher.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree that we should move this to a public hearing. We need to hear from the public, but also I want an opportunity for this business owner to come and present some possible solutions. I know, Chief, I was in a meeting with you and some other businesses last summer or last spring, and there was a business in another part of town that was having a problem with a line of people out their door at 7 in the morning, and they simply just stopped selling cheap vodka. So this business could help us with this and not lose their ability to sell alcohol all day long, but maybe they just don't sell the stuff that's $7 for a quart of vodka. So I'll support the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to Councilor Stroman, who is yet to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, these guys are starting to sound like politicians up here, so I want to verify a few things. And could I address the chief?
Yes.
Chief, we've heard a little bit about, it's my understanding that the police department's worked with this owner or this and that, and these things have happened in the past with these other conversations. We don't have the owner here to tell us. I guess I'm asking you, what steps have been made to work with the owner to see if they could make any changes that you believe would benefit the matter?
Tim, are you able to answer that, or? Okay. Well, I do know we have met with management. I don't know that we've met with the actual owner because I do believe they are not from this area, but I believe we've met with management on 2 different occasions, and I don't believe we've asked them to stop selling alcohol completely. I think we're just asking them to stop selling the cheap small bottle of shooters or the cheap vodka, essentially. Stop selling those products, especially at 7 in the morning. Very simple things like that. And I think the local management has been receptive to that, but we've been told that that's a corporate decision, and therefore those changes have not been made.
So do you think that that's we're at the end of the line, or do you think that if we talk to the management again, that they would take it up with their corporate?
I can tell you that our conversations at our level have not been fruitful. Maybe a conversation at a council person level would be worth a shot, but from my understanding, I don't believe they're going to make any changes unless they have to.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.
Going to lose their license. They probably would.
Councilor Roberts, the floor is yours. Oh,
I turned it off again.
I see how you are. Yeah.
Trying to be more annoying than usual. I think that it would have been nice. I would have liked to have known this was coming up. I would have liked to have had a conversation with those owners. It usually takes a while to get a hold of these corporations. But I think a corporation would make a smart decision whether, you know, if they knew that they could possibly lose their license, they would probably make a decision, or they may dig their feet in because depending on the size of the corporations, a lot of them just like to sue you. And once we take their license, they're going to sue us and we're going to lose. And, you know, and I've seen a lot of those because it's your money, it's not our money that are making the decisions whether or not you're going to get sued or not as a taxpayer. So, you know, I would like to see more conversation happen, and I'm trying to wonder, I'm curious about, so we're going to go to a public input on this, public meeting on this. What, we're going to let the public decide on whether or not to pull this liquor license? So
It's a public hearing. Just
public
like
hearing?
It's just the council meeting.
So, so it's going to come to another council meeting.
But everybody has advance notice, including the owners.
So, I guess that's not a bad idea if we actually talk to the owners and not just the management. So, you know, but this is, it's an interesting issue, very interesting issue. I think that we could probably force management into selling some of this, you know, cheaper stuff. But my opinion, if we do pull their license, these people are just going to shift to a different location. Lance and I have seen this over and over and over again on East North Street. You know, you stop selling something like at Prairie Bottle Market, it just went up to the Common Sense up on East North. And, you know, it just moves locations is what it does. So now, going back, I'm going to age myself here a little bit. I can remember 50 years ago going to, well, yeah, 50, I'll say 50 years ago. 50 years ago going to grade school at Wilson Elementary and walking through the park at 7 o'clock in the morning with drunk people passed out. It's not like this is something new. It's been happening for generations, okay? Do we need to do something about it? Absolutely. We need to get them the help. That's what you're going to be good at. We need to help these people to stop them from doing that. Will taking alcohol away at that location stop it? Absolutely not. They will walk another block and a half to the liquor store, or they'll walk to the other side of town, or they'll go somewhere and just relocate where the cheap alcohol is at. So, I mean, all that we're going to do in best case scenario is we're going to move this problem somewhere else. So, anyway, and I may vote to set it to hearing, or I may not. I don't know.
Well, what a cliffhanger. With that, while you deliberate that, we're going to let the finance director chime in.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to let the council know, I did speak with the corporate vice president and deputy counsel on Thursday to make sure that they were aware that this might be brought up during tonight's council meeting. I thought, based on that conversation, that they would have representatives here tonight. Okay. During my conversation with the vice president, she did ask what the particular concerns were, and I brought up that it appears that there's a significant number of individuals that are buying shooters, as well as the very affordable vodka that's available there, and that there's a lot of people that are passed out that are at the school as well as at the park. And she thanked me for that information and said that she would be speaking with the management, just so the council's aware.
Okay. And the city attorney is here, and if the representative wants to speak on this, I believe we'd be open to that. But our attorney, Joel Landine.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, that one of the reasons that my deputy Carla Cushman recommended that we set this, I mean, there are due process issues, so we did not advocate that you make a decision on the license tonight because the applicant should be able to show up. I mean, the process changed. Used to be every license, whether it was a renewal or a new license, required a public hearing. But to expedite the process, because 99% of the licenses were just passed without any discussion. They changed state law so you didn't have to do a public hearing, but since there was going to be discussion about, or we became aware there was going to be discussion about potentially not renewing it, the recommendation was to set it for a public hearing if you wanted to consider that, where people from the Rushmore Road Group, the owners, everyone would have an opportunity to provide input so you could make the best decision. So that was in line with due process. To some of the comments that were made, and I'm looking around, and Alderman Roberts may be the only one that probably might even remember this or would have been on the council, but there was a very similar discussion about the convenience store, if you recall, that was across from the School of Mines, in between Main and St. Joe, and that little gap there. And the PD approached them about maybe making some changes to the alcohol they were selling because that was also identified as a problem location. They were not receptive to it in the initial discussions with the PD. Other businesses were. It became an issue at the time of their renewal. Not surprisingly, when the council seemed poised to potentially not renew their alcohol license, they became much more receptive about taking input into some of the issues and making some changes in their operations. So the PD, I believe, has had discussions. I think depending on what the council is willing or able to do now, if we have their management's attention, perhaps they will be ready to have more of a discussion at the public hearing about maybe some changes they might be willing to make to operate the business and continue to have a license to sell alcohol. So.
Thank you. I want to give the opportunity, the representative, did you want to speak to anything, or are you just here to answer any specific questions? You can come on up to the microphone and introduce yourself and give your perspective, please.
Hi, my name is Heather Warren. I'm a divisional vice president for the company. This is the first I'm hearing that we've had any issues. We do follow all the regulations. I mean, we've changed the hours of operation when it came to when we were selling the alcohol. We're very due diligent with the training that we do have for our team members that are inside of the store, whether that's the management, the hourly associates. We take that very serious, and we actually renew that training. It's renewed once a year. We follow strict protocol that we make sure that we are not selling to anyone that is intoxicated or is assumably intoxicated. Again, we don't do any testing or anything, of course, but again, we want to make sure that it's not visibly something that is an issue. We try our best, to make sure that we're responsible business owners and that we abide by all the rules and regulations that are out there. Unfortunately, once someone has purchased those items, I kind of have, I'm limited on the control that I do have. Unfortunately, the park is a place where people can go, and like many of you have talked, it's been an issue for many years in public areas of that sort, whether it's a park or trails or just open areas in general. So I have no problem looking at or taking back some of this information because, again, no one has contacted me. And when I talked to the manager at the store location just this last week when I got the notification, she has not had anybody ask or give her that information that we were even being requested to look at not selling the alcohol or lower priced alcohol. So again, I have no problem whatsoever going back and looking at or working with the council or even the community on better ways on how we can all work together. Again, we're very open to that. It's just really open up those channels of communication. I'd love to give anybody my telephone number, and you can contact me anytime. I have nothing to hide. And as far as the owners of the company, they are out of the country, of course, but we have meetings with them once a week, and again, we address these things just like you guys in councils, and we have a board of directors. We have an LST team that we take all of this very seriously. Again, when I found out about this, I was actually out in Connecticut. I flew out here, to make sure that I was here present to make sure that we can address these. Again, we've been a part of this community for a very long time. My district manager has been with our company over 30 years and has worked for us. So, you know, again, I think for us, we've definitely have a staple in the community and would like the opportunity to at least be able to work through this rather than being penalized when we haven't even had the opportunity to talk about this.
Well, thank you, ma'am. I think a couple of things tonight. They're not looking to make a decision, but to set a hearing so that you can have more time to evaluate. Would you be open to visiting with our professionals in the police department about some of their concerns, and maybe I can connect them up with you here at this meeting today so that maybe we can look at what you're selling and or the hours that you're selling it and those sort of items?
Absolutely. And I mean, I can, you know, in other communities, I mean, we've put in different safety procedures, whether it's been our security cameras, we've invested in that. I mean, last year alone, there was over $300,000 that I spent in just this division alone with the camera systems, just to make sure that they were adequate enough to take pictures of things, digital, take, you know, whether it's the motion, a lot of things that we've done. We put in bathroom alarms. We've locked up a lot of different things just to make sure that it was more secure. So, you know, again, just like the police department, we went to the extremes in some of our areas to make sure that we could help protect the communities. And again, I gladly share the bills on what we've spent on this, because it is costly. And again, we take it very serious as a company.
Well, that's great. You know, one of our biggest concerns is right next to an elementary school. I think we all can agree we don't want that kind of behavior around children, and we want to keep them safe. That's our number one, you know.
Absolutely. And I think as a business owner, we are definitely cognizant of, you know, whether it's the signage or the promotions or anything that we do put outside, we put that in respect. I mean, again, we've never been asked to, you know, to take anything down, because we don't even assume that we want to do that, because again, we know that that's our responsibility, right? And we try our best. I mean, again, we've had no violations, and we try very hard to make sure that we are in compliance, whether it's with the local laws or the community laws.
Well, thank you. So we'll have our folks connect with you. Tonight, the vote on the floor is to approve this. Unless, did you have anything else you wanted to say real quick?
No, just thank you for the time, and I appreciate the everyone listening.
Thanks for coming out here
and giving us
tonight.
the
We appreciate
communication.
that too. Thank you.
Thank you.
So tonight, the motion on the floor, the substitute motion on the floor, is to approve the alcohol beverage licenses renewals with the exception of the Loaf and Jug on Mount Rushmore Road, only to set that to a public hearing at the council meeting on December 15th. Does that sound correct? Well, we have a substitute. I think we have to deal with the substitution first, and then if we take that off the floor, then we could separate. Well, let's go ahead and just go to the vote on this, and if it fails, we'll look at other alternatives. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Motion passes with 2 noes from Roberts and Lehman. So this will go to a public hearing on December 15th City Council meeting. It's a Monday evening at 6:30 p.m. And that you'll have an opportunity, of course, to share your side of things, and as well as the public and their concerns. In the meantime, we'll have our police department, Police Tonight, connect with the representatives from the Loaf and Jug and see what we can work out. All right, with that, we'll go to item 34, the request to allocate $50,000 for matching funds from the council contingency for the Black Hills Food Response Fund. Councilor Pettigrew.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The mayor contacted me on this request when the government was shut down, and asked if he believed the council would support this distribution, and at that time I said yes. I am having second thoughts, and I think several council members are having second thoughts. Since the government is open, SNAP benefits are being paid. My question would be, is this the way the council wants to spend our discretionary funds? Thank you.
And for the record, I believe, and Director Ainsley might correct me if I'm wrong, is it written in such a way that it was conditional on the SNAP benefits not being there? Is that correct?
Yes, as written, it would be if the federal government was shut down as of tomorrow morning, we would send a check. And so even if the council were to approve it, as written, we would not be sending a check tomorrow. So if that's
Right, you would have to change, you would have
Yeah.
to change what is there in order to make that a reality. Did you have any more, Counselor Pettigrew? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. May I direct a question to Chris Huber?
Yes, Chris Huber from the Black Hills Area Community Foundation, who spoke earlier, coming to the podium.
Thank you, Chris. My question is around Feeding South Dakota. I think this was specifically around SNAP, but I think, am I correct in that Feeding South Dakota also had a cut to their budget separate from this? And so it's not as if we are, I don't know that you can really have a surplus for food pantries, but this would still be helping a gap that Feeding South Dakota has felt since July, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. They did receive less federal buying power. I think it was to the tune of about $1.7 million annually, and then some state funding lapses as well. So they have seen a decrease in federal funding and some state funding.
Thank you very much. I would make a motion to amend the item so that it's not required. It's not, I don't know. I don't know how Daniel would like it to go, but I think it's still a good use of funds, and if we need to make an amendment so it's not based on SNAP, I think it's still a beneficial use of our dollars. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, Counselor Roberts.
Thank you very much. And I'm very confused on this because I was going to make a motion to deny it since the SNAP benefits have came back in. But if I make a motion to deny it, what does that do? Because if I vote on it, it goes away. If I make a motion to deny it, it goes away. If I...
Well, let's get a, should we get a
somebody
recommendation
answer?
from Director Ainsley?
That would be good.
All right.
Yes.
Director Ainsley, how
So-
would you word this?
I think to be as clear as possible to the public, it would probably make sense for there to be a motion that would clarify this to state that it would be a $50,000 payment or donation to the Black Hills Area Community Foundation for this need. And if that way it's clear that it's not about SNAP or anything else, and that way it's very clear who votes yes, who votes no, and then that's how it lands.
So that made my motion very, very clear. I appreciate that. So I'm going to make the motion. Can I make the motion now, even though I had spoke a little bit?
I think it mostly.
I had to ask the
think so.
director
You
how
were
to make a
correct.
motion.
You asked a clarifying motion. I'll allow it.
Okay, thank you very much. So I will make the motion to deny $50,000 from the matching, or $50,000 from the council contingency fund, period, for anything. That's my motion.
And there's a motion by Roberts with a second by Stroman to deny. And with that, we'll go to Counselor Stroman and get his input.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm for helping out people. I'm not against helping out people. It's just too nebulous here. I know, Stephen, you like to rely on data. I don't have any data. I have all these vague, they're hurting over here and they're hurting over there. I'd like to have an understanding of what the needs are. And I understand from Chris today that they've already got $46,000 of the $50,000 match done. I would prefer to have us, as I talked to the mayor today when we were walking down the street, I said, to target this to different people, or to different organizations, for instance, the school lunch debt, Feeding South Dakota, Salvation Army, Meals on Wheels. I'd like to look at doing something like that. And I'd also like to ask Daniel, what happens if we don't spend this money right now? I don't know how much money is in the contingency fund and how long it has to be spent. So could I ask Daniel that?
Director Ainsley?
If you don't spend it, you save it, which is always nice. And so that would roll over into your council into your thank you, undesignated cash reserve balance. And so that is not appropriated in next year's budget. It's just what's in essentially your savings account. And then if something comes up next year, you can do a supplemental appropriation for that use. But Those funds do expire at the end of December 31st, but the money doesn't disappear. It goes into your undesignated cash.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Counselor Stroman?
No, I yield.
Okay.
Sorry.
Counselor Tamang.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate what Greg said. I think it is hard to make a data-driven decision here. One thing I've noted anecdotally is when the concern regarding the SNAP benefits was happening, it seemed to be a rush on the food pantries. And I think we had constituents come out here and talk to us about how everybody was, very concerned and sort of trying to stockpile. And I think that really drove down a lot of reserves. And so I agree, we don't want to spend money for problems that no longer exist, but the benefit of doing this, if the problem is something that we can't see, is pretty big. So in other words, like, if I'm going to be wrong, I'd rather be on the wrong side of giving $50,000 to people that might need food, as opposed to be on the side of, we'll keep it, but oh no, they did need food. From a decision standpoint, one has a more serious consequence. And so I think the $50,000 is well done here. Thank you.
All right, so right now the motion on the floor is to deny. We're not doing anything with the $50,000 if you vote yes. I believe based on the comments, we're going to go to a roll call vote. With that, we'll go to our recording secretary, Heidi.
Pettigrew.
Yes.
Bieberdorf.
Yes.
Tamang. Evans.
No.
Meyer. Lehman.
Yes.
Maher.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Stroman.
Yes.
Motion passes six
All
to three.
right, the motion to deny passes. So I think everything changed when the government got back open too. So I do appreciate Councilor Pettigrew for putting it under consideration. With that, excuse me. New page. Yeah, there we go. With that, we're moving on to public hearing items 35 through 41, and we will open the public hearing for items 35 through 41. I have no speaker request forms for those items, so we will close the public hearing for items 35 through 40 and move on to consent public hearing items 35 through 40. Would the council like to approve these items or remove any items for separate consideration? A motion by Bieberdorf, second by Evans. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to the end of the consent public hearing calendar, and we will move on to non-consent public hearing item number 41. Second reading of ordinance number 6687, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. A request by Alicia Ginsberg for a rezoning request from general commercial district to medium density residential district for property generally described as being located at 16, 18, and 20 East St. Louis Street. And the recommendations to continue this to the December 1st City Council meeting due to a publication error. All right. We're going to give that motion to Lehman and give Roberts the second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. We need a motion to enter executive session to consult with legal counsel about proposed or pending litigation pursuant to SDCL 1.25.-2. And to discuss the qualifications, competence, performance, character, or fitness of a public officer or employee pursuant to SDCL 1-25-21. Motion by Bieberdorf. Second by Lehman to enter executive session. All in favor? Any opposed? Thanks. We're in executive session. Do we have a motion to come out of executive session? Motion by Lehman, second by Pettigrew. All in favor? We're out of executive session. Right now, we don't need any staff direction, so we will move on to item 42 of the bill list. With that, we'll go to Finance Director Daniel Ainsley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The bills for Main Street Square and Visit Rapid City total $310,401.77.
Motion by Roberts with a second by Bieberdorf. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. One abstention from Councilor Meyer. Item 43, back to the Finance Department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The total for all other vendors equals $13,067,570.86.
Motion by Pettigrew. Second by Tamang. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion by Tamang, second by Lehman to adjourn. All in favor? Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.